Malton is a food town. There's a history of making food here. One of the things that Lyd and I set out to do, we said we were going to find a little business to buy. We wanted something we could scale that was relatively underdeveloped, where we could use perhaps some of the experience we'd picked up over, me 30 years, Lyd 20 years. We were working together at a company called Symington's. We wanted something that was in the health sector, and we knew meat-free as a trend was growing. And then we saw this little tofu business. Neither of us were vegetarians, and we probably didn't have a very good opinion of tofu at that stage. Eventually we got hold of Ron, the owner, 65-year-old who'd built this business from doing it in a kitchen. We came and looked round, and I always describe it as like buying a house. You walk through the door and you immediately know that this is home. Nobody loved tofu, and I say I'm not surprised because tofu had a really bad image.
Everybody has a bit of a, funny feeling about tofu. It's a white block, what do I do with it?
People just didn't love tofu, but they should. It's a fantastic product. It soaks up flavour, and if you get great tasting tofu like ours is, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And we believe that nobody loved it, and we were the ones that were going to do that. We were going to start a revolution, and we were going to get people into the idea that eating tofu was a good thing, not a bad thing.
So we've come into the marketplace and we love tofu. Everything that we do is about tofu. Audio Jungle.
Ron was an absolute student of making tofu, but he was clear. I don't want to supply major supermarkets. I'm not interested in all the fuss that goes with it. I don't want a technical accreditation. And when we came, the business had been for sale for 6 or 7 years and nobody had bought it.
I said to Dave, this could be absolutely fantastic for us, because at Symington, Sainsbury's had asked if we could source a tofu for them, and we couldn't find one anywhere.
Tried the product was fantastic. Ron made superb tofu. And kind of that was it then. We were sold. It was all about how we were going to raise the money and how we were going to get it done.
I then had an initial meeting with a guy I knew at Tesco, one of the directors at Tesco, and said, look, me and my husband are thinking about buying this little tofu business. Do you think Tesco would support us? And he was absolutely amazing, and said, look, come up with your business plan and your brand and show us your product. I'll make sure you've got an introduction to my team and we'll take it from there.
And so I wrote a business plan. Lyd started talking to some of the customers. We raised the money, and Jan 2016 eventually bought the business. When we first started out, there was 8 of us. Lyd and I worked in the factory, making tofu and learning the ropes. I think what we brought to the business was vision. It couldn't frankly afford what we were trying to do.
Because in our heads, we knew we were going to develop a brand and we were going to sell that to the major retailers.
The first big agenda was to get a technical accreditation for the factory. Lyd's got a fantastic little black book about the industry. And so when we were looking for technical people to support us, we couldn't take them on full time. She brought in people that she'd worked with in the past.
Back in those days, the business was producing less than 10 tonnes a week. And so it was very embryonic, very labour intensive. So there was quite a significant amount of manual activity. So therefore, we've automated to remove some of the manual handling. And where we can, we have deliberately put equipment and processes in place to make the operation safer.
Nick has done much bigger jobs than this job here, and he's putting in place the framework to help us grow and help us be a lot bigger. The other thing we did was we thought really hard about the brand proposition and what we were trying to do. And consumers said to us, the one thing I don't really get is what to do with tofu. What is it? What's it made from? And what do I do with it? I'm a bit afraid of it.
In the consumer groups, they said to us, we wanted a tofu with taste. We're interested in a product that delivers for us on taste. And we were like, right, that's going to be our sort of, our key selling point for our brand. It's tofu with taste.
And so we developed a brand proposition that was all about reinforcing just how good the product was and what you did with it.
The Tofu Co is a very inclusive brand. It's, I suppose, very real and very honest. So we want to talk like real people talk. But at the same time, it is very playful. So it's very kind of witty and tongue-in-cheek in how it puts itself across. And I think it was, and still is, very important because it was trying to cut through what was at the time a very dry category, a very dry and dull marketplace.
Thrift did a lot of work for us as a consultant. It's another one of Lid's little black address books from Arla. And Thrift was instrumental in helping us build that brand and the character and refining what we were trying to do.
I suppose what we've cemented at the heart of the brand, what we call our brand essence, is this wonderfully unexpected. So we try and live that through every aspect we do. It comes through on our website with our mission statement and kind of when we're talking about our facts, we try and look and do things in a slightly different way. The meat-free category back then was, I suppose, quite earthy, quite brown, and so wanting to do something fun, lively. Our teal blue shelf-ready packaging really lifts the product. Again, something very fun, something very visual. We get lots of consumers sending us emails how much they love our tone of voice as well, so that's really lovely to hear that. We're not trying to be, this kind of perhaps exclusive thing just for vegans. We want to be open to everybody.
We also wanted it to be young, have a really young feel, because it was about bringing new consumers into the marketplace and younger consumers.
If you look at all the marketing material that goes behind it, yes, there's this irreverent tone, but it still concentrates back on what a wonderful meal you get from making a product with tofu.
We are, I would say, a real food ingredient. We have a place in everybody's kitchen, whether you're a vegan, a vegetarian, a flexitarian, somebody just wants to reduce their meat consumption. And at the end of the day, we've got a fantastic product. So, our brand does that initial job, but we've got an amazing product that people just want to come back to.
We make tofu with a double O, not with a U. We always say that, and they are different. It tastes better, it's firmer, it doesn't fall apart in the pan. And we do believe that tofu with a double O is fundamentally a different product.
So, look, what's the secret recipe?
No chance. It's like Colonel Sanders, this one.
Oh, it's a secret, I can't tell you that.
Have you ever interviewed anyone from Coca-Cola? They can't tell you either.
It's not a secret recipe. It's the traditional Japanese recipes. It's soybeans, nigari and water.
I mean, look, we tell people obviously what's in it. It's how you combine the ingredients that's probably the secret recipe. Nigari is absolutely critical to this. We don't get as good a yield as some commercial tofu factories that make it with calcium sulfate. You can get a much better yield, and that means you get more tons of tofu for every ton of beans you put in there, but the product's not as good. How you combine those ingredients, and nigari, which is an extract of sea salt, is a critical part of that. It has to be done with care in terms of adding it to the product. And, if you don't get it right, then you'll have to throw away some of the product, but we'd rather have that. That means more to us to deliver great product every day to our consumer than just getting the best yield. So, the secret recipe is nigari, but it's how you make it with nigari that makes the real difference.
It's an art form rather than a science, the way we make our tofu.
They've all been handcrafted at the end of the day. This isn't, a machine making everything. There's a lot of human intervention in here. And so, you do get twists and turns in every one, but, we make great tasting tofu every time. We were making 1,500 cases a week when we bought the business. Last week was our second biggest week ever, and I think we shipped out something close to 17,000 cases. So, that's pretty phenomenal growth. That's kind of 12-fold in 3 years. And the processing capability and what you need to do to keep up with that kind of growth is obviously massive.
I don't think many people will have experienced the type of growth that we've had. And you're constantly thinking about the next bit of capacity that we need to add in. And every time we've put in more capacity, more cooking capacity, more, fridge space or whatever it might have been, we've sold it straight away. So we've never really got in the position where we've managed to build lots of stock and been able to sort of sit back and think, right, on the front foot.
The business growth is circa 80% per annum. Now, for some people that's exciting, for some people it's a little concerning. But if it does excite you, and it certainly excites me, then it draws you into a business that has a real energy and a real buzz to the way that we operate. What we were producing last week isn't enough this week and won't be enough next week. So you can see that it's a site and a business where it happens, and it happens very quickly.
It's constantly been about raising more money to be able to buy more bits of machinery, and it's a really nice problem to have. We've just taken on the new building 9 Rye Close, which is, a step on again for us. It's, huge expansion, lots of new kits going to go in there, and it's kitted out from scratch as a new facility. So, huge change versus, the business that we bought, 3.5 years ago.
Bit by bit, through social media, through all the work we've done, has built momentum, and that's where the growth has come from. One of the things that Lyd and I set out to do very early on, well before we found the business, was we came up with a set of values we really believed in, and we try and get people to join us who believe in the same things. And we've recruited a great team of people from really diverse backgrounds, some from the local area. We had some people who came from Lincoln and used to travel every day from Lincoln to come here, and they've ended up moving to the local area. So there must be something we're doing right that's, kept people with us through that journey.
I moved from Lincoln to Scarborough just because this place, and just because the Lydia and Dave. These guys spread so much energy and so much enthusiasm. The people working here, most of my colleagues, they're very adaptable. So whatever idea Lydia and Dave throw to us, we're following, and we try to make that happen. That progress and that dynamic of the company, that gives me motivation to go even an extra mile if we need it, just to achieve the goal.
Our people work incredibly hard, and as a result of that, you kind of want to get people who all believe in the same things.
So, what's the secret recipe?
Secret recipe is the secret recipe that I will not tell you nothing about it. There is only one: excitement and the positivity in our crew. This is one of the ingredients of the secret recipe.
So the growth has been kind of 8 people. We're probably nearly 60 people now, and lots more opportunity for growth. So, we've got a great crew, and without that, kind of the business wouldn't go anywhere. Me and Lyd can only do so much at the end of the day. When we convinced Linda to join us, I think we kind of felt like we'd pulled off a bit of a coup, really. Lyd and I were talking about the next phase of development. We had to get new products out there to carry on the revolution.
Tofu is really, really versatile, so there's lots and lots that you can do with it. I think people don't understand what to do with the product, so the more and more we can teach them, the better.
There's so many things that you can do with tofu that we must have an NPD pipeline for the next 10 years.
So we're working on things like sizzlers, breaded products, tofish, which is like a fish cake type product. It's getting flavour into it, so people will try tofu. A lot of people are scared of it, I think. They don't really know what to do with it. So in all the tofu boxes that we sell, there's tip cards. We do that to get people to, if they don't know what to do with it, an idea of what they can do. If they just tasted it once, they'd realise it's not soggy and tasteless. It is really flavoursome.
We've got a very long list of ideas of things that we want to do with tofu, and it's kind of time and money that's the enemy, stopping us doing all that stuff at the moment. We set out to build a great business based on our values, with a bunch of people that believe in the same things, and we're driving and growing and doing more stuff, and I can only call it some form of legacy. Would we have imagined that one of our products was the 3rd bestseller in the category already? kind of 3 years in? No. We are very future focused. We've got a big vision. There's so much more to do. You're always thinking about the next piece. You don't know what's around the corner, and you have to be prepared to follow the opportunity a little bit. You never know where things are going to take you, and we're probably pretty good proof of that, I would say.